Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. We have a unification in the welterweight division coming up on the 12th of April, which is this Saturday, early hours of Sunday if you're in the UK like I am. And it's between Jaron Ennis and Eimantas Stanionis of Lithuania, of all places. Not really a hotbed for boxing, is it, Lithuania? But great country. I've been here a couple of times, really like it. Stanionis is the WBA champ. Ennis is the IBF champ. Stanionis has 15 wins, no draws, no defeats, 9 KOs. Jaron Ennis has 33 wins, no draws, 9 KOs, and 29 stoppages or knockouts. So you're talking Boots, orthodox fighter, 27 years of age. Stanionis is 3 years older. He's also orthodox. And I think Boots is a couple of inches taller. He's about 5'10". On paper, it looks like a very good matchup. Perhaps it is a good matchup. Perhaps it is. But there are some worrying things concerning Stanionis. That's the first thing that strikes me about this matchup. And it's not that Boots is considered to be one of the best fighters in the sport and possibly the best welterweight on the planet now that Crawford is fighting at 154. He's going all the way up to 168. He needs to take on Canelo. But Stanionis, the word inactivity really springs to mind quite heavily because you have to go back a year, nearly a year. I think it's about 11 months, May I think it was, of last year, when he fought Gabriel Mestre and won a unanimous decision. And he won it. There was a deserved decision. I think he won, if memory serves, probably about 9 rounds. I don't know what the cards were, but I remember that fight. About 9 rounds. But then you have to go back a further 2 years to 2022 for his only fight that year, which was a split decision win over Ratsab Butayev. And that was, as you can tell, split decision. And it was one of those split decisions that was a close fight. I mean, Butayev from Russia, I think he's only fought once himself. Very inactive. I don't know whether that's because he's from Russia and there's all that, there are other things going on in Russia and Ukraine, as you might imagine, that's making it difficult for Russian fighters to maybe get work. I don't know. But Stanionis was out for 2 years between those two fights, the Butayev and the Mestre fight. And he's now been out almost a year between the Mestre and the Ennis fights. And it's that sort of inactivity. I mean, it can't be good. I think he had some sort of, he had his appendix removed or something, or his appendix burst. So I did read somewhere that it was something to do with his appendix. And there were complications, I think, which meant he was out for quite a long while. Well, 2 years to be precise. But he looked okay against Mestre. Mestre, of course, was very inexperienced. He only came in with 7 fights on his ledger. 6 of those were wins. 1 was a draw. And plus the fact he's in his late 30s, Mestre. So, yeah, you can say, well, Stanionis should have won that fight. Yes, he should have done as the WBA champ. But I just worry about it. There's too much inactivity for me. Way too much inactivity. And I know he's only 30 and there's not a lot of wear and tear on him. But if you're going to fight Ennis, you really need to be preparing properly. You really need to be getting, his last 2 fights have been 12 rounders. He's gone the distance. Not a bad engine. Comes forward well. Fights quite well on the inside. He's not a slugger though, not a walk in the front door sort of guy. He does have a little bit of ring IQ, a little bit of intelligence going on there. But as we said before, he is in against one of probably the best welterweight in the world when all is said and done, and someone who a lot of people consider to be one of the best fighters pound for pound in the game. Now, there is a little asterisk connected to Ennis as well, because we all know, it's pretty much an open secret, that he's a very big welterweight, and getting down to the weight probably isn't easy for him. And there was some evidence of that last November when he fought a rematch with Karen Churkadzian, who he had beaten. I think he'd whitewashed him the first time they fought, but then he he was given a much tougher fight in defence of his IBF title. That was over in Philadelphia, and I think that's where Boots is from. He's from Philly. It was I wouldn't say it was a struggle, but he was hit cleanly. And yes, he won clearly, but Chikadze, having been whitewashed previously, fought much better, and Boots kind of looked a little bit, perhaps it was just demotivated. He didn't quite have that killer air about him. Was it the weight? Possibly. If you look at the fight he had before that, which was probably about 4 months, possibly, before he fought Chikadze, he fought David Avanesian, which was his first fight under the Matchroom banner. And he stopped him in 5 rounds. I mean, I think the corner retired Avanesian. Avanesian is a good European level fighter, but he's not world class really, although he's had 2 welterweight title shots. Unfortunately for him, they were against Ennis and Terence Crawford. But he's a European level. He's not a world class fighter, not really. Maybe fringe top 20, maybe. And that wasn't really a test for Boots. So I don't know. Maybe some people are thinking that Boots has outstayed his welcome at welterweight. There was talk of him going to 154. But he's like, no, I want to unify. I want to become undisputed. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, if he's making the weight sensibly, chances are he can, unless he really is weight drained, and it is a totally unnatural weight for him, he can retain his energy and he can retain his power. But like I say, if it is a weight where he's not, his body's simply outgrown that weight and he's boiling himself down to an unnatural weight, Stanionis will ask questions if that's the case, because as I say, Stanionis is not a fool in the ring. He holds that belt for a reason, the WBA belt, and he is a good fighter. If he hadn't been so inactive, I would make this a much closer fight. I would give Stanionis a much better chance of beating Boots. But I always remember, and it's one of the most famous UK victories, I always remember Lloyd Honeyghan, it was 1986, going over to America and beating beating Donald Curry. Lloyd Honeyghan went over there undefeated. Curry was considered possibly, well, apart from Marvin Hagler, pound for pound, the best in the world. Hagler was probably considered number 1 at the time. And Honeyghan just beat him up, smashed him up. Now, that was a mixture of Curry being weight drained, definitely weight drained. He struggled at that weight for a long time, 147. Demotivated possibly because he was looking for either a catchweight or a move up to middleweight to fight Hagler. Sounds hard to believe now, but that was the case at the time. It could have been lack of motivation, underrating the guy. Honeyghan had been on the floor against Cliff Gilpin, I think, floored him in a British title fight. So we're talking upsets can happen, when people are weight drained. And of course, that was a undisputed welterweight fight. This is a welterweight fight. I think Stanionis is going to have to box out of his skin to beat Ennis. I'm going to assume that Ennis makes the weight, well enough to do the 12 rounds. Maybe not at a breakneck pace and maybe not fighting all 3 minutes of every round. But I think he might be able to do enough in each round, maybe fight for 2.5 minutes of each round and have little moments of rest. Now, Stanionis will have to start quick. He will have to jump on Ennis. This fight's taking place in Atlantic City, so it's not Ennis's hometown, but he's the American. He's the Matchroom fighter. This is on a Matchroom card. So I really think Stanionis is up against it. And like I say, if he'd had more activity, I'd be giving him a better chance. But I can't look beyond an Ennis victory. I could be wrong. It wouldn't entirely surprise me if Stanionis spun the upset, but I do make this a sort of 65-35, maybe 70-30 in favour of Ennis sort of fight. I think Ennis he's got those long levers. He is an intelligent fighter himself. He jabs very, very well. He has considerable power, and it's long power as well as short, uptight power. He can put some heat on guys from a distance. The power seems to travel, if you know what I mean, the length of the arm. Long lever guys, like Tommy Hearns is an obvious example. They have that ability, a lot of them. And I see Stanionis being competitive, might even come on a bit in the middle rounds, but I think Ennis will outlast him. I don't think Stanionis has enough power to trouble Ennis. I know he's got 9 wins in 15 KOs, but if you look at his fight with Thomas Delorme, which was back in 2021, he won that a unanimous decision. Comfortable enough, but Delorme made him work. Delorme went out against Ennis in a round. So, I don't know. I just think Ennis is probably too good, a little bit too big at the weight. And unless he is truly weight drained, I expect him to come through and stop Stanionis in about 10 or 11 rounds. I think he'll probably stop him. If Stanionis goes the distance and wins a few rounds, yeah, he'll have done well. And his stock will probably rise. But I do think Ennis has got this one in the bag. Like I say, unless he's totally weight drained. But what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know and give me a reason why you disagree with me if you don't agree. What do you think? Stanionis is in the right place at the right time, maybe? It's possible, certainly possible. Just like Hunnigan was against Curry. Yeah, it is possible. But let me know what you think. Comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button if you like the video. And yeah, this is going to be a good fight, I think. Be a good fight. But let me know what you think. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and bye for now.